for your life from the Charles Way Press Hall at the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism, where the Minister, Jerolinmek Piah, is on the podium to talk about a wide range of issues in the country.
To ensure that this environment in which we are all assembling every time is conducive. I have said, and I'm on record with my team, that the condition of this place called the Ministry of Information is unacceptable. And our commitment is to change what that situation is. It's a process that is on, and for the record, anybody can challenge that. We have not been able to spend any government money here since we took over. Just yesterday, I was very angry with some of my financial people because I realized other ministries and agencies, their team have been doing what they can do for them to have some operational resources. Our people did not do that. So we're not being able to spend a damn of government money. Everything you see us do here is the result of the relationship we built in the past. We're not just change the entire building, which will take a little bit of time, but we are focused on changing this environment so that every time you come here, you are much more comfortable. I have some assurances that there will be greater change in here in a very short run. We do not have an extended guest today, but we have a number of things to talk about, very important things. And the first one I want to start with because it is serious in my mind and it has a lot of implications for the country. It's what is unfolding with the EPS. The EPS is the Executive Protection Service. It is an elite presidential unit charged with the responsibility of protecting the president and other VIPs that may be designated by the president. Even me, as a minister of government, cannot have an EPS officer assigned to me until it is authorized by the president. When the Salib administration ended, the strength of the EPS was around 400. The new administration started in 2018. Between 2018 to where we are, that strength doubled. And that doubling took the size of the EPS to over 800. When the new administration took over headed by Mr. Gay, they inherited a situation that they deemed was very concerning. Not only that the size of the EPS has doubled, but they were concerned about some of the qualities of the individuals who were within the EPS. They formed out a number of issues. First of all, the law that created the EPS makes the EPS the property of the state. And the requirements for enlistment are clear. And I would name some for you. You must be a Liberian citizen. You must be aged between 18 to 35. You must be a high school graduate or above. And for those who are civilian employees who do not meet those requirements must possess some technical and specialized skills that are considered beneficial to the EPS. So for example, if you wanted a controller, and the person is not the power security person, it must be determined that their skill will help and will be of benefit to the EPS. They must be effective with background investigation. They must undergo medical examination to determine clean bill of health before training. And then they should undergo 6 months of training at the police academy. These are the requirements. So once the new team took over, they, based on the astronomical growth of the EPS to over 800, they had to determine if all of the enrollments or enlistments were consistent with these requirements. When they checked that, they found out a number of issues. Among them, there was a good chunk who did not meet that bare requirement of being high school graduates. There were some who claimed that they were high school graduates. They presented certificates. Those certificates were investigated, and some were fake. Some also presented white certificates, which following investigation were also determined to be fake. Some claim they graduated from certain learning institutions. Contacts with those institutions confirmed that they did not enroll at those entities. So, in the briefing I'm giving you, are not imaginary. I am the spokesperson for the government, and if there are issues evolving, it is my responsibility to reach out to the sector to ask them what's happening. Because I must be concerned about anything that is happening in the government. And this explanation I'm giving is not to render judgment. Because anybody who is offended has a recourse. So I've heard some of the EPS officers complain that the dismissal is illegal. They could be right, I don't know. The only people who can determine whether their concerns are correct or incorrect is the code of law. And so they have every right to follow those processes that are laid down to challenge what has happened to them. But what we try to give you on behalf of the government is the account of those in charge of the EPS. So as a result of that, what they have done is to determine that a number of them who did not meet those requirements could not stay further in the EPS. And that number is over 200. I've heard different accounts of 200 who have been dismissed. But one of the things that was of concern, I believe many of you who are press people saw that, was that there was an appearance of some of the officers at one of our local radio stations. And during that live appearance, one of the person who is supposed to be an EPS person who was affected by this exercise, if you witness that, all of you I just saw it, he said they were 300. All the 300 people were armed. They would resist. They would take down people who come in their way. Open threats. The police intervened. There were initial resistance, but they were arrested. They've been in police custody. because some of the threats that they made were grave. Here's what the EPS authorities said. First of all, EPS officers don't just loosely carry guns. You give them guns, they keep it whether into their house, whether they in, wherever they no. Guns are for operational purposes. When you are on operational assignment and you are issued a gun, you don't take the gun away anywhere you go when you're now on operational assignment. So for them to claim that they had guns in their hands, the guns remained in their hands and they were displaced. Nobody who has common sense will do that. God will mention the head of a security group that is responsible for presidential security. And if the action of that very individual I'm talking about on that talk show is the measurement of who an EPS officer should be, then you understand that maybe the director was right. How can somebody who make those kinds of threats be anywhere around the president or any VIP? Security people are trained to be very loyal about it. I know there are some of them who are very trained as such. I saw a group of them who've gone to the legislature to raise their case. That's what level-headed people will do. But when you issue public threats, like some of the folks did, there is a problem. So the EP has said these requirements that are laid down, over 400 people who were enlisted between 2018 to 2023, many of them did not go because the entire requirement for enlistment was suspended. And requirements that are laid down by law for a security group that protects the president and other VIPs cannot be waived, cannot be suspended. So if those were what happened, and others are in charge and they realize that those are the things that happen, of course, it is normal that they will begin to take some of the actions they are taking. Notwithstanding, I want to repeat again, all of those caught in this situation who feel offended are encouraged to take recourse under the law and not issuing some of the threats that we heard from them. Yesterday, something important happened. One of the things we said is that it's a period of rebranding for Liberia. We got to rebrand Liberia for global business. So yesterday we had the SH Liga, which is a British cruise line, coming here. It's not just that a cruise line was coming. That's not the main story. The story is over 115 tourists saw our country as a destination for tourism, and they came here. They came from different countries. Australians, Austrians, Chinese, French, Germans, Greeks, Russians. They're all part of the over 115 tourists who came here. I was there along with my team of ministers to welcome them to our country. They were made to disembark. They went to Providence Island. They went to our museum. They went up Duco. They ended in a very festive situation at the Unification Park, where people were selling different products, culture and others, where. And the tourists happily interacted with them. There were purchases. But here is one of the main messages for me. When I got to the place, I met the captain of the British cruise line. And he said whenever they take their team to a country, one of the things they look forward to is to recruit people who work on cruise ships in those countries because they believe in diversity. And it was their desire to recruit people from Liberia. We were not prepared for that. So one of the things he said to me, and that we need a whole discussion around, is that we have to find a way either to establish an institution or empower existing institutions to do so that we train people how to work on cruise ship. And once we train those people and they are qualified, then whenever their missions are made possible, because they're coming back in 1 year, that's what he said. And his humble appeal to me is that we take those actions so that by the next time they come back after 1 year, they should be able to have some folks recruited from our country to work on cruise ship. And as a sector ministry responsible for tourism, we're going to take that policy action with the central government to work towards that area, because it will be an opportunity for job creation in our country. The Africa Soft Tour that is supposed to happen 1 month, exactly 1 month from now, will be another tourist attraction area. But the organizers are having some challenges, and I assure them I'm going to talk about it here. As a ministry, as a government, we give approbation to what they want to do. We have an authorization letter signed by me, the Minister of Youth and Sports, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, which basically indicate that the government is in the know of what they're doing. We approve of it, and we call on all of our people and those doing business here to support that humble cause. The feedback we've gotten from them is that not much is being done to support them. There'll be one option. If we don't have what it takes to host the competition exactly 1 month from now, they will be constrained to cancel. That's not what we want for our country, because this is the first ever in the history of the country that will have a surfing competition here. So I want to take this opportunity to appeal to investors, the business community, even public officials ourselves can contribute towards making that entire intervention a success. So this is my humble appeal to beginning with also working government, and our private sector people, business people, investors. Let's rally around the organizers of the surfing competition, so that exactly 1 month from now we can do that in Grand Kidman. Because it's international. The athletes who are supposed to participate are coming from different countries. And it will give some attention to Liberia. It will be the focus of more tourists coming here, and it will be good for our country. So that's my humble appeal. But as it stands, until such action is taken, it is scheduled to take place as was announced. But let's do a little bit more to rally around them, because what they're doing is for the good of our country. The president was in Bombay over the weekend, and he had a retreat with Senate representatives who are from our tendency. The only reason why I'm talking about is that we've seen some newspaper publication that the president is now opting for Green Liberia over a united Liberia. This is governance, even in America, everywhere in the world, where political parties exist, and those parties have representation in parliament or in Congress or in the legislature. When did it become a problem or a crime that a sitting president who has lawmakers from his party can say, let's sit and talk about how we support each other? In America, they do it. Republicans can meet. Democrats do that. In the British Parliament, in other places, they do so. That's the reason why the president did not do so in secret. That's why it was a public event. it is the right of the president to call lawmakers from his tendency, to acquaint them with his own plans and enjoin upon them for their support. And when we make everything political, that even if a president meets his own lawmaker, then that means the president wants to turn the country toward as green as Liberia. So what happens to the other branches of government? Don't we have the legislature that is one of the most important branches of the government being led by an opposition? Don't we have an independent judiciary? Because the government has 3 branches. So a president meeting lawmakers from his political party cannot be interpreted as an attempt to make the country a green, quote-unquote, green Liberia. Some of our friends in the media should stop doing these things. Let's focus on very substantive issues and not trying to politicize everything. Even as that is happening, we know that in the first quarter of the year, it has been said that revenue collection improved, and not only that they improved, but they overperformed in the tune of additional 18 million. So what was projected to have been raised during the first quarter of this current fiscal year overperformed in a tune of additional 18 million. And I was just talking to the minister before coming in and said, so, okay, we see the 18 million, which is supposed to be the excess. But in our first quarter, what it is? And it was over 150 million in just one quarter. And by their projection, they report that the revenue collection picture overperformed in excess of 18 million, which is good for our country. And we hope that we can continue that trajectory so that at the end of the process, that we don't come back to an old story that all of you know, which has to do with budget shortfall. We probably will not have one. Roads. One of the fundamental pledge of the president, as he was planning for 100-day deliverables, was that it would make the country accessible. Yeah, in other words, he said no cow there, you can stop in the mud, which is what many people run with. But basically what he was saying, the country must be accessible. Most of you who are journalists, you see what happens to people who travel to the southeast and other places. Sometimes they get stuck on the road for weeks, for days. I announced here the other day that one of the things that the government has resolved to do is that we're reopening all of the maintenance stations in all the 15 counties. The intention is to deploy more than between 300 and 400 FOV equipment. But while we are yet to do that, the government is keeping that pledge. If you're following, whether it's towards Lofa, whether it's in Limba moving towards the southeast, whether it's from Basel moving towards River Sets, everywhere we're making the roads passable. And as a result, we heard some of our friends from the opposition saying they should call the government dusty road government. Of course, when you fail, they will say, okay, you see, you made a place possible. Nobody promised that they will pave all the roads in the country in 3 months. What they said is that the roads will be passable. And how can you even attempt to call the party that is in power when they started the whole concept of making our roads to be paved? We have that history. We will repeat that history during this term. But while we seek to do so, we ensure that through those interventions, our roads will be made. So you see, what are the constraints? Now, it's good for people to experience politics, so we're talking here, they can say, in every ministry or agency, you should have a generator, right? So the way the current on, then we'll put a generator on. The ministry will inherit that, you get one. The way current on now, those sorts of electricity. You're experiencing it, you're right in the middle of it, you see it. when we distrust the ministry the way we do, you know we're not playing politics. It's serious. How can any serious government institution run this way? Just depend on LAC, my current going, then nothing can happen. Who runs a place like that? This is a place all you people have been coming for the last 6 years. This is a place they send us. This is a place we are determined to change. You're busy. The way the current going, you're not on again, right? You still on? Oh, you say oh.
And you on social media? Social media. They're going live social media, so you can go ahead.
So that's part of the challenge. It's good that you've seen this challenge with your own eyes. So many things are being done here. And sometimes they look painful. But some of the very actors who left our country this way, they want to talk more than everybody else. And they bring 10 radio station all together making noise. Some of them who were implicated in all kinds of things. Some of them who are not ashamed to even be referred to as sanctioned officials. That voice to talk. Where in the history of our country so much number of government officials will just be sanctioned by a foreign country? And if you're looking at category, then you're making the barriers of noise, you're questioning everything. And you're talking about government supposed to be for the interest of the poor. But the current government is not paying attention to the poor. Since when last you did that? How many poor people lives we change? The dumb people are the executive mansion. You have all the opportunity to process them to be civil servants. You didn't do it. You hang them somewhere calling them supplementary payroll employees. Meanwhile, the people they brought from their churches, from their social closet, from their families, they process them overnight as civil servants. Those who are not so connected to them say you supplementary work. When you supplementary, it means you are contracted, not employed. And let those people vulnerable. But they still have voices to talk. You can remake yourself that way. The wounds are still fresh. People can still remember what was done to this country. And standing right in the auditorium, I too feel now what was done to this country. Because when I was here, as a deputy minister and acting minister, oh yeah, the generator was there. In fact, we use it most times. If it was still in those era right now, as LAC is going, the generator will be on. You inherited that. I was working. This is how you left it. There's a small picture of the bigger picture you left the country in. They got voice to talk. The last time I made reference that the president's attention had been drawn to the situation with the LDEA and that they were going to take charge. The president often did meet with the two individuals involved. And the assurance we have is whatever you've been seeing in the book, have been transmitting into the newspapers and radio stations will not be repeated because there's a clear communication from the president to not just them, but to all of us. That if we are not focused on doing the work for which we are deployed and using the time for infighting, we'll outweigh the administration. We have a huge call. We knew this country was somewhere it should not be. So we purposefully chose the mantra that we came to rescue. And anything that stands in the way of that rescue effort will be removed. Now that the president has met with them, we look forward to seeing the LDEA focus on what they are supposed to do because the drug situation in our country became a national emergency prior to come to the public country. And so for such a major challenge to the country, the individuals who have been put in charge, it is anticipated that they will do what will enhance the overall mission of the administration. There were rumors, which I would like to describe it, that there were drugs found in the presidential convoy and at the RRA. I just want to say on behalf of the government that those information are incorrect. No such thing happened. And if it took place anywhere, not in Liberia, maybe it's in another country. But not yet. And I don't want to waste time on that just to say this information. Total falsehood that has no bearing or truth in it. I think the different issues I wanted to talk about been addressed. So that we pause here so that we do our normal engagement if you have, with your questions and answers. Thank you.